Hello folks, how's everybody doing? Hope you're doing fine. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about extinction. The reason we're going to talk about extinction is I said last week or last time that if more than 3 people wanted to talk about the subject, well, I'll cover it in a little more detail than I did the other day. And several people came back saying, yeah, they want to hear a little bit about extinction. Okay. So let's see what we have to say about extinction. Well, the first thing we need to learn about extinction is that the list of movies dealing with end of the world scenarios has gone up. In fact, exponentially, I guess, in the latter half of the 20th century. And here you see some movies that were made in the 60s and 70s. There's maybe, 20 to 30 movies per year. And this is the list now, in this past decade, 100 movies. Okay, so apparently people are, it's a subject that, that people like a lot, quite a bit, okay? Or at least are interested in. I guess everybody's concerned about their future, or there's maybe a sense that things are not quite right, that this is a different moment in history, or type of moment in history than what we've had in the past. And that's something for you to ponder. If we're in a different situation today than we were in, 100, 200, 500 years ago. You talk about people who talked about the first millennium, that it was going to be the end of the world because Jesus was coming or whatever. You had all these astrologers predict things or interpret the Bible, and it never happened. And you've had also all kinds of diseases, and people thought it was the end of the world, and it never happened. And so these predictions never came true. But are we in a different situation today? Can we extrapolate the past to our days? That's going to be in the background, okay? That's going to be part of the topic. Anyways, I'm going to start with comments because some people made a couple comments. I think that's a good way of introducing the subject. One person put this comment, not related really to extinction, but I put this as an example of how not to make a comment. Okay, this person says, your choice, you choose when ordinary language matters and when it does not. And he put that for a video, and I have a problem with that because, I don't know what he's talking about. And I don't even know why people put stale comments. If you're going to put a comment, put a decent comment, like, you want to discuss something, or you say what's wrong with what I said. Here I have no idea. I don't know what he's referring to. Maybe in his little mind he thought that he was offended by what was written or said, and just vented his frustration. That's what it sounds like. Nothing more than that. I don't even know why they spend time putting one-liners. Don't they have anything better to do? Okay, another person put a comment, I think yesterday or today, I don't remember. It says, now related to the subject matter at hand, says, after money will go away, I have to edit this a little bit, some people will organize some sort of currency or will trade with each other without money, like American Indians. That's a typical comment that I receive with respect to extinction. People think that we're going to go into bartering. A lot of the narco-caps, anarcho-capitalists, I call them narco-caps, they have this idea that somehow we're going to go into bartering, where everybody does his own thing without the intervention of government. So you sell your own things in your local region or whatever, and the economy is handled separate from government. We don't need government anymore. That's why they're called anarcho. Okay? So yeah, some people believe that we're just going to trade green money for brown money. And yeah, I got a lot to say about that, but right now it's not the time for that. I prefer a comment, a little more elaborate comment. I think it was this one. It says issues with Bill's extinction. And this fellow says we have a lot of land and resources to feed a lot of people, billions of people. There are parts of the earth that are not populated yet, and we still have land to develop. He puts as point number 2, past causes of extinction cannot be extrapolated to the future, or not necessarily to us, right, to humans. He says that genetic diversity, we're going to engineer new genetic diversity. We're going to increase our genetic diversity through, I guess, engineering methods. If the economy collapses, humanity still will survive because we've already had this situation in the past where we had wars and diseases and we overcame all these obstacles. He believes that the future of humanity lies in space. For this, we need to change our physical form. We will go out into space. And he says he's, as a result of that, more optimistic because he believes that we're going to survive all the way into the next century, at least, okay? And that, anyways, the extinction is difficult to predict, okay? So why did I put this comment there? I put it there because it's typical of what I always get. Okay, I usually get these types of comments from people who do not subscribe to the theory. And I want to make sure that you understand very clearly that most of the people, I would say, at the Rational Scientific Method, RSM, we have a group in Facebook. You can join if you're interested. They do not subscribe to the extinction theory. They like a lot of them like the rope model, but they do not subscribe to the extinction theory, okay? And it's up there for people to discuss, but not everybody likes it, okay? Okay, so that in a nutshell is the issue, but what is the problem with this individual's comment? And the problem I see with 99% of the comments out there. And I put that in the description. Everybody's an expert in economics. Everybody's an expert in politics. Everybody's an expert in their own opinions. No doubt about that. No one. I have yet to find someone who's an expert in extinction. Everybody's an expert in human extinction. They specialize in human extinction. But no one is an expert in extinction. No one can tell me anything about extinction. Nobody wants to talk about extinction. See, look at I'll put this comment back again, okay? Where do you see this fellow telling me how the dinosaurs died, or how the Permian synapses died, or Triassic archosaurs, or whatever? I don't see it in there. He goes directly into humans. He's got a big opinion on how humans will survive anything that's thrown at him, but he can't tell me how past species died. And this is the problem with just about everybody who comes and criticizes the extinction theory. Everybody's an expert in politics and economics, and they just want to talk humans. They're not interested in animals. Okay? So, what can I say? I've got an option. I can delete all comments that do not start by stating how animals in the past died. If the guy just skips over there and wants to jump into human extinction, maybe I should delete those comments. Of course, I'm not interested in doing that. I'm just saying maybe that's what I should do, right? So this is what I suggest here. Okay. Here it is. I think people should start at Extinction 101, okay? And that means that they have to tell the world, the audience, they should explain a mechanism of extinction, right? And especially of one that's already happened, of the animals, of the things we know are in the rock. We've got all these different bones in there. They don't exist anymore, so we have to believe that they became extinct. We've had 600 million years, apparently, right? Or what the record shows of life here on Earth, at least of living entities, of animals, probably even longer for plants. And we have to explain those extinctions. What happened to those animals? And if you cannot explain that, then you cannot talk about human extinction, because you are an ignoramus. You know nothing about extinction. You haven't taken Extinction 101. And the only thing you got to explain there is selectivity. You got to tell me in in your mechanism, in your theory, how Mother Nature selects one species and leaves the others alive, or a group of species and leaves another group of species alive. That's what you got to tell the audience. Audience wants to hear your mechanism, not your opinion about why humans are not going to die. Okay? And then if you pass that first step and you finished Extinction 101 with flying colors, and you can explain selectivity, right? Specifically, right? How Mother Nature selects a species or a group of species. Now we can move on to the extinction of human. Now you can tell me all you want about your economic expertise and your political expertise, okay? And yeah, so you can go to Extinction 102 now. You need a prerequisite Extinction 101. You can talk about human extinction. If you want to talk there, don't tell me your opinion about, how you don't think we're going to die because history's shown this and that. No, first you tell me whether humans are ever going to die. Is our species eternal? Are we going to live billions, trillions of years? Are we going to live quadrillions? Are we going to live forever? Okay? That's the first question you got to answer, okay? And that's a yes or no type of question. Then you got to tell me why not. I mean, if you don't think, you got two choices. Either you live forever, or you don't live forever, right? And if you don't think we're not going to live forever, I'm sorry, if you think we're going to live forever, you might say, well, we're going to go to the stars or whatever. You tell me your theory. And if you believe that we're going to die, then you got to have a foolproof mechanism for our extinction. And please don't tell me we're going to throw the nukes at each other, because that's easily destroyed. We just don't do it. We just don't throw the nukes at each other, like we haven't, at least since World War II, right? So, it's very simple to destroy an argument about nuclear weapons. It's also easy to destroy an argument about disease. We can locate any virus, any bacteria under the microscope and kill it before it expands. We have that technology. So, you're going to be limited in your options, okay? I need a foolproof mechanism, okay? And if you don't have a foolproof mechanism for the extinction of the human race, you can't talk about the extinction of the human race. Now, if you think we're going to live forever, well, you don't have to explain anything, do you? But you have to explain, how we're going to avoid extinction in that case. Okay? So it's easy to talk and give your opinion because you don't like a theory of extinction. And by the way, it's never a popular theory. It's fighting against the stream. No matter how you phrase it, nobody likes to be told that he's got 6 months to live. It's never going to be popular with a patient. Okay, and so people don't like the extinctions. Yeah, on the one hand, they're attracted to the notion, like you can see in the number of movies that have been made. But on the other hand, people don't like the fact that there's no future, that there's no hope. They don't like that. Nobody likes that. And they would rather, as I say, fool themselves and think, they're on the Titanic and they have this hope, or they just fell off an airplane and they think they're without a parachute, and they think that maybe they fall into some soft spot down there on the ground, and that's wishful thinking, okay? And this is more or less the same thing. Extinction is guaranteed, as far as I'm concerned. And so those people who say that we're going to live forever, they're going to have a lot of explaining to do. And those who think that we're going to become extinct by some other means that I'm proposing in this channel, they better have a good theory of extinction. I'd love to tear it to pieces. Okay? Okay. Anyways, so where do we go from here? Well, we've had, like I said, a lot of people deal like extinction theory. One of the most, or the most popular theory is the dinosaur extinction. And that happened about 65 million years ago. People like it because all these big animals, gigantic animals, roamed the earth and then they vanished. And so, of course, people say, well, what happened to them? They were the rulers of the planets. Here we were tiny mammals, like little mice running around their feet. They probably didn't even pay attention to us. We were like ants are to us. They're at our feet. We don't even pay attention to ants. And maybe mammals had a similar relationship to dinosaurs. And so how did these big animals disappear? And when you look at when you do a little research, I've been doing research over 20 years on this subject, so I can tell you a little bit about it. And what you find out there is that no one has the slightest clue. I have no respect for any paleontologist on Earth. Okay? That's my starting point. After doing research, I have no respect for any paleontologist on Earth. All their theories, 150% of them, are garbage, nonsense, idiocy. Okay? That's my starting point. That's what I've learned after 20 years of research into extinction theories. And what they do is politics. Here you have a case, okay? This is, I think I got this from the Wikipedia. And it says, in March 2010, an international panel of 41 scientists reviewed 20 years of scientific literature and endorsed the asteroid hypothesis. And this asteroid hypothesis has to do with an asteroid hitting the Earth, okay, and causing the extinction of the dinosaurs. That was the trigger, okay? And here, what these people did was just research a bunch of papers, say, oh yeah, we believe it. That's what happened. Case closed. That's it. And that's politics. That's shoving their religion down your throat. That's what that amounts to. That's just propaganda. It's got nothing to do with a mechanism. Okay? And when we get into mechanism, we find out that the asteroid has many, many problems. Okay? And so what's the overall idea? It's the asteroid hit an area of carbonate rock containing sulfur, much of which was vaporized, thereby injecting sulfuric acid aerosols into the stratosphere, okay, would have caused acid rain. That's how the animals in the water, especially the reptiles, the big reptiles like the mosasaurs, that's how those became extinct. There was too much acidity in the waters. And you wonder why the acidity didn't kill all the other animals. Well, they had special protection against acidity. Is that what it was? Okay. And so where did they get all this stuff? Where are they getting this asteroid and this nonsense? They get it from these fellows. They wrote a seminal paper in 1980. The Alvarez, Lewis, and his son Walter Alvarez, who's supposedly a geologist, and they came up with this this theory, okay, that there was an extraterrestrial cause for the KT extinction, the Cretaceous Tertiary is known. Okay, that's where they started with all this, and it's important to know that Alvarez was a Nobel Prize winner. He was a Nobel Prize winner not because he did anything special, as none of these people are. He was just tied to the U.S. military. And so he got his Nobel through his connections, and then used his Nobel Prize, essentially, his fame and fortune, to back that of his son. The idea that his son had for the extinction of the dinosaurs. Since he was a geologist, he says, oh, maybe if we look at the layer of iridium, that's dated to about 65 million years ago, well, we can show that an asteroid hit the Earth because, there's not so much iridium here on Earth, but here we have this layer, apparently, throughout the Earth, and that could have been caused by an asteroid, which typically have higher percentage of iridium than here on Earth. So they went in there and, as a so-called physicist, mathematical physicist that Alvarez was, he went in there and calculated the size of the monster that could have hit the Earth, and they came up with this theory, okay, that it was all triggered by, an asteroid, an extraterrestrial cause. Now, catastrophic theories have been around for quite a while. In fact, Alvarez wasn't the first one to come up with that. Here we have, let's see if I can find it here. Max de Lobenfels, 1956, he came up with the same theory before the Alvarez's. I mean, he already had this mechanism of an extraterrestrial cause. Okay, in fact, in the paper that written by the Alvarez, they mention Lobenfels. Okay, and was Lobenfels the first one? No, in fact, before him, in fact, 200 years before them, this is the father of paleontology. His name was Georges Cuvier, French guy, and this is from a paper that was written out there, published. In the early 1800s, Georges Cuvier interpreted the sequence fossil faunas in rocks of the Paris Basin to represent a series of catastrophic extinction events. Big word, catastrophic. This marked the beginning of the catastrophic school of biological changes. And a little earlier, before him, French scientist Pierre de Maupertuis in 1742 argued that impacts by comets on the Earth have caused extinctions by modifying the atmosphere and oceans. Present-day scenarios are based on this same essential concept. So, what's the issue? The issue is that all these people say, well, something happened geologically suddenly sometime in the past, and a bunch of species were wiped out. What could it be? Well, it's got to be a catastrophe. And the first thing everybody says is they look up in the sky and they say, oh, it came out of the sky, right? And that's what we have today. We have all these extinction theories. Most of them have to do with space. And guess who's behind all that stuff because it's in their best interest? And that's NASA. NASA obviously loves extinction theories involving extraterrestrial causes because, that puts them in the spotlight and says, hey, we're the guys who can tell you what's up there because we have the telescopes, we have all this stuff that we control. And, if an asteroid comes our way and starts, we see that it's big and it's going to hit the Earth, well, we can at least warn you. We have the early warning. You got to pay attention to us because we've got the technology to detect it. And then, I don't know, maybe they take a nuke up there and they nuke the thing. There's a couple movies on that subject, in fact, where they blow up an asteroid that's about to hit the Earth. So NASA becomes very important suddenly because, they have all these theories, okay? Extraterrestrial theories, extraterrestrial causes for extinction. And, I showed the other day, this is what they have in mind. They, where is it here? This one. They have this notion where the Earth was hit by an asteroid, okay? And because of that, it caused all kinds of fires. There was an explosion that caused fires all around the Earth. And what happened was, the whole Earth was essentially, the surface of the Earth, according to these people, was completely destroyed. All plants and animals, everything died. As you can see, no one can survive so much fire. The Earth was left as a cinder, okay? And this is the notion that they like to put out there, okay? They have all this fire and brimstone raining down on the dinosaurs, okay? Supposedly everything was destroyed, plants and animals. And that's the fire and brimstone version, okay, that you see there. Okay? All this brimstone raining down on the poor animals, burning them to death. That's the fire version. Then you have the other version, supposedly caused by the same asteroid, which is the water world version. You have the whole world turned into water. Okay, there's no land available. The water simply go over the land and just drown all the animals, which are running for their lives in vain, right? And so you have this water world, and you have the fire and brimstone version. It's a lot of fun because all these people come up with all these irrational theories on how the dinosaurs may have disappeared. Why are they irrational? Well, because these people are saying that the entire earth was flooded or burned, that no plant or animal survived. That's essentially what these people are saying. And then in there they introduce the fact that, yeah, the mammals did survive because they hid inside the mountains or whatever and started eating detritus, the dead matter, dead plants and dead animals, whatever they ate. And that's how they survived. So they have all these contradictions. On the one hand, they say, look, all plant life was destroyed. And the animals that survived, who knows how they survived so much fire, brimstone, and waters, flooding. They survived eating detritus until the God decided to make plants and I guess some animals back again. I don't know. So yeah, they have irrational theories. And when you look at the study that was made after 4 years by a group of people, this was a massive project by several universities and think tanks, and you can see it here. There is no indication that all plant life ever disappeared on Earth after it started, say in the Cambrian or Precambrian, whenever it started. Never has all life died on Earth. Okay? So all this nonsense about fire burning the entire surface of the Earth or flooding completely the surface of the Earth, it is nonsense, total nonsense. The Cretaceous terrestrial revolution chart shows exactly what happened. What happened was that the flowering plants muscled aside the conifers, which is what the dinosaurs ate. This was completely a food problem, okay? That's going to be my argument, okay, for extinction. And of course, all those people who think differently, again, all they have to do is put a theory that we can sink our teeth into, okay, some mechanism. Don't tell me how man is going to survive and why economics is not going to kill him, why food will not kill him. We don't want to hear any of that. Keep your nonsense to yourself. Tell me, tell the crowd, tell the audience, okay, how the animals in the past died. If you have no theory for animals in the past, you know nothing about extinction, much less can you know about human extinction, okay? So we got to start at extinction, not at human extinction. And I don't know how to drive that home, that point home, okay? Okay, was that the only catastrophe? Well, here we have, let's see, here's the summary of catastrophes that have been proposed over time. For the Cretaceous, the asteroid. For Permians, the number one is the volcano. Some people also propose asteroid. And for the Ordovician, one that's rising again because of NASA is that gamma rays from a nearby supernova wiped out the species, okay? So that's what we have today. We have just catastrophic theories because they can't think of any other way that plant life could disappear, or animal life for that matter, okay? And the interesting thing about some of these theories is that this asteroid was very intelligent. We have an intelligent asteroid. See, the asteroid was able to do selectivity chronologically, what I call chronological selectivity. It was able to wipe out the species that had been around for a long time and left all the new species. And that happened in every extinction. The volcano was of the Permian, the Siberian traps. That was an intelligent volcano also. See, it wiped out the old species and left the new species intact, both on land and in the sea. Yeah, these are very interesting, very smart acts of God. All these asteroids and volcanoes, they are able to select chronologically. And when you do the study, you find out that that is the case. What died were the old species And what survived were the new species. Why? Because they belong to different food chains, which clearly shows that it's not an extraterrestrial cause or some kind of catastrophic accident such as volcanoes or methane coming out of the sea or anoxia or all that other nonsense, idiocy that all the paleontologists have come up to until today. Okay? So, anyone who's got a theory of extinction, I'd love to hear it, and it better be none of the ones that are out there, okay? I think I can easily criticize it. Okay, here's the Permian extinction. This happened about 252 million years ago. This is from the Wikipedia. And again, what do you see? Potential causes include meteor impact events, massive volcanic eruptions, and that's the primary one. Climate change. Why climate change? Because it's on everybody's mind today. That's why climate change is there. Everybody's thinking about climate change like if climate did anything for extinction. Underwater methane. Yeah, that's another one that's very strong. Supposedly some gases leaked out of the surface of the sea, okay? And what do the experts say? You would say, well, that's the Wikipedia. No, here's the experts, okay? These are the people who investigate the Permian extinction. You see their comments there. Comes out of a National Geographic article that summarizes essentially what we know today for sure, okay? It's not easy to kill so many species, says Doug Irwin, a Smithsonian Institution paleontologist. I like the fact that they use these big words, paleontologist. The guy has never taken Extinction 101. It had to be something catastrophic. Yeah, of course. An enormous asteroid impact is the prime suspect of Gregory Retallick, a geologist at University of Oregon. Other Permian detectives suspect the killer oozed up from the sea. Paul Wignall and Richard Twitchett of the University of Leeds reported the first evidence of oxygen depletion, or anoxia, in rocks that formed under shallow water at the time of the extinction. Wignall suspects that the entire sea may have stagnated in Permian times. Permian oceans also might have been poisoned with CO2, according to Andrew Knoll, a paleobiologist at Harvard. Another suspect, a deadly epoch of volcanic eruptions in Siberia. Thick, pulsating flows of glowing magma gushed out of the numerous broad, flat volcanoes, said geologist Paul Rennie of Berkeley Chronology Center. Okay, so what are these people saying? They all say it all had to do with some catastrophic accident. That's the only thing that these people can think of. They never thought about biology. They never thought about any process, a normal, natural process. They were all acts of God or Mother Nature or Father Universe, one of those guys up there, right? Either threw an asteroid or came in with a supernova, zapped it. It had to be a catastrophic accident because they say, how can you explain geological suddenness? But the problem here is that they explain geological suddenness with a catastrophic accident or act of God, any way you want to call it. But then they cannot explain selectivity. Because the issue here is that when you use an asteroid, you kill everything on Earth, as you've seen. That's how they portray it in documentaries. The whole Earth on fire, the whole Earth covered with water, and it would have to be like that. If an asteroid hits the Earth, right, in a big asteroid, and it causes all this debris to go all around the Earth and blot out the sun, and there's no more photosynthesis, and everything's on fire or everything's underwater, which a water world, nothing is left alive. And so the question is, how do you select? How did the mammals survive the dinosaurs? How did the archosaurs come out of the dead synapsids that died in the Permian? How did the synapsids come out of the the amphibians of the Carboniferous? These guys died, and these other guys continued. You got to explain that selectivity. How one group of animals died and the other one survived. How some plants died and how others survived. You know, it's very clear that there was a time up to the Carboniferous and a little beyond the Permian and even up to the Triassic, you had the ferns, especially the seed ferns, no longer exist. And these seed ferns, they were dominant flora. Did it last forever? No, the seed ferns went away and they were replaced by the cycads and conifers in general. That's what the dinosaurs, the long necks and all these other animals ate. And then we get to the era of, you know, our era, the mammals, and the conifers are gone, and so are the ferns. They no longer dominate the landscape. What dominates the landscape are the flowering plants that we have today. So we have these big millions of years, hundreds of millions of years of one type of plant replaced by another type of plant replaced by another type of plant. And you get these animals used to these types of vegetations. They develop these symbiotic relationships when they eat, poop the seed, and then another seed grows up, and this lasts for millions of years until it finishes its cycle, and another plant Mother Nature invents, which is more versatile, which is more vibrant, more advanced, replaces it. Very simple. Okay, and all we have to figure out is why plants die all by themselves without asteroids, without volcanoes, without supernovas. That's what we got to figure out. Then we can explain selectivity, because when the plants go, those animals go. The ones who have forged a relationship with those plants. And the new plants that come in, they have all these tiny animals that suddenly irradiate and become the new dinosaurs, the big animals, right? Until they too succumb, and now you have another group of animals, the mammals, which now follow the flowering plants. So on the basis of food, we can explain it very easily. We can explain selectivity. Not necessary to have volcanoes, not necessary to have catastrophic accidents like asteroids and comets and supernovas and all the nonsense that NASA is trying to push for its own self-interest. Okay, so here we have paper, seminal paper, by the way, 1971, Dale Russell, pretty important or famous paleontologist for those who do research. And he suggested in 1971, he said, we wish to suggest that a nearby supernova explosion might produce climatic effects so drastic as to cause the extinction of many animals, including dinosaurs. They were trying to propose their theory that maybe it was, they come up with all these new ideas. I'm going to publish this. And, NASA absolutely loves this fight between the supernova guys and the asteroid guys and, any other extraterrestrial cause. They absolutely love it. In fact, here's somewhere I have here the paper, I'll show it in a second. NASA is funding all these projects, by the way, okay? So that's important for you to know. Okay, here it is. Okay, so you can see who's behind it. Did a gamma ray burst initiate the late Ordovician mass extinction? Okay, and this is a group of people who published this. What is it, 2003? And if you see, I've underlined U.S. National Science Foundation and NASA. Oh, those people love this stuff. They eat it. They love it. They give all kinds of money, taxpayers' money to these guys to develop these idiotic theories. Okay. Now you say, well, why is it idiotic? Well, here you see here's the image so that you can see what they're talking about. Okay. You have a gamma ray hit the Earth. Okay, what's that gamma ray going to do? It's going to vaporize the air. It's going to hit the air right out of the Earth, and suddenly all these animals, have this period in which they have no air and they die because they suffocate, I guess. They have nothing to breathe. Okay, and when I look at that, I think of the cartoon character Foghorn Leghorn, and here he is, and Foghorn, he's going to get this child. He's got to babysit. And he blows himself up, and all his feathers are gone. And then the next moment, he recovers them. And that's more or less what these people are saying. They're saying, the The Ordovician gamma ray, it wiped out the Earth, the air of the Earth, and somehow we recovered that air. So it's like, the gamma ray just hit Mother Gaia in the stomach. She lost all her air, for gas for air for a few moments, then she recovered. Okay. So again, a lot of this, the mechanisms these people propose are idiotic. They have no place in science because they cannot explain selectivity, and the mechanism itself is irrational. I mean, gamma ray just blows up all the air, right? Assuming that happened, right? And then how did we recover the air? It just, hit it in the stomach, you lose your air, and then you recover? Is that what it is? All the air just goes out into space and then comes back in? These people are no longer rational. They just come up with theories to put their names on the books. And NASA loves this propaganda. They love it because it's in their self-interest. Okay? But see, one of the interesting things that you're going to see in all these cases is what I'm telling you. Food. Think of food. Food chains. One food chain, the old food chain disappears because their plant life, the one they depended on, disappears. New food chain radiates. Okay, very simple process, natural process. No catastrophic acts of God are necessary. And you say, well, is that really true? Well, it turns out that all these catastrophic accidents are not needed. You can see that the common denominator of all these theories is food. Here you have the Alvarez paper. This is the Alvarez paper, okay? Look at this, okay? Here's the Alvarez paper, okay? What does Alvarez say? Well, he talks about food chains. The food chains collapsed. Okay, so he needs the asteroid, but he says, well, how did all these animals disappear? Well, it was through the food chain. Okay, it was an issue of food in the end, okay? And you say, okay, that's one maybe. Here you have another group. Well, this is the same paper, okay, just more elaborate. Okay, here you see I've underlined all the instances that Alvarez talked about the food chains and how they were affected. Okay, and again he puts in there the fine print saying animals that fed on insects and decaying vegetation, they were able to survive. So the food chains disappeared, but the asteroid did not kill all the tiny animals because they were able to eat detritus and dead life or whatever. Okay. Here's another paper. This is by Sheehan, and this is the another important paleontologist or renowned paleontologist. And again, he talks about food chains. That's what they all talk about. They say what happened was, whatever happened, it affected the food chains. Okay, they can't live without the food chains. Every theory has it in there, the food chain. It's like they say it as an afterthought, like, oh, by the way, the food chains were affected. We had the asteroid, we have the supernova, we had the volcanoes, but in the end it all had to do with the food chain. And this is the common denominator of all these theories, okay? It's the food chain. And here's another one. This is for the Permian. This is out of the Wikipedia, but again, that's a good starting point. And so what was the issue there? Well, again, the food chain to collapse, causing food chains to collapse. Okay, that's whatever caused it. In this case, the Siberian traps, Russian volcanoes, whatever it was, we don't care. But the point is that it ended up affecting the food chain. Okay, that's the main point that all these theories eventually end up with. Here's another for the Permian, another representation, another theory. This is again from that National Geographic summary. And again, they talk about it, the short-term effects alone. Cold darkness and acid rain would kill plants and photosynthetic plankton, the base of most food chains. They have to make the food chain disappear if they want, especially if they want to explain selectivity. Food chain is a very good way of explaining selectivity, and that points to the fact that it's not the trigger that we have to worry about. It's the fact that the food chain disappears, an entire food chain. Okay. Here's the Ordovician. Again, I like to pick on these. There's more, obviously, but for lack of time, I'm just going to look at these three eras. Here's the Ordovician extinction. Even modest 10 to 30% increases in UV flux, particularly around 300 nanometer, can be lethal to a variety of organisms. Now you put some references there. See also blah, 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 okay, including phytoplankton, the basis of the marine food chain, as well as oxygen production. So what do all these people say? Well, whatever caused it, we don't care, but eventually we have to look at the food chain. It's the food chain that disappeared, okay? And I showed the other day this, which is for the Cretaceous, okay? And you can see what happened. These animals were disappearing already millions of years before the end Cretaceous, okay? So we have to explain, not like I gave the example the other day, where a big boulder kills the last 5 Neanderthals. You know, that's not, we can't say, well, the reason the Neanderthals became extinct is because of a rock. Okay, this is what these people are saying. The asteroid killed the dinosaurs. The dinosaurs were already disappearing in the last few million years. And of course they had to revise that, and now the theory has changed. Now they say, well, that's not true. They were expanding, suddenly they died. Okay? And the question was there more diversity of dinosaurs? That's one issue. Were there more types of dinosaurs? And why would that be important? Well, if plant life is disappearing, then you have fewer niches into which to evolve and create new species. So if the plant life, their plant life, is disappearing because of the Cretaceous terrestrial revolution, where you have the angiosperms pushing aside the gymnosperms. Well, yeah, if the dinosaurs ate gymnosperms and their sources of food are disappearing on the one hand, and the variety of sources of food are disappearing, you have fewer niches in which to carve, in which to make new species. Okay, so not only the number of species reduces, but also the number of dinosaurs that can be supported by the environment. And that's an easier way of visualizing how the dinosaurs disappeared. They belonged to a given food chain that had nothing to do with the food chain of the mammals, which were dependent on the angiosperms. So now we can see selectivity with that, okay? Okay, anyways, what do I propose in exchange? I'm saying that what happened was this. We had the overturning of the ecological pyramid. That's what causes extinction. You have it there summarized in this little picture. What happens is the plant life disappears, and so the herbivores have fewer varieties and fewer plants also, because they're being displaced by the new vibrant plants that Mother Nature has created. In this case, the angiosperms replacing the gymnosperms, just like the gymnosperms replace the ferns. Okay, that's important to show also how the animals in the past, like in the Permian and Triassic, disappeared. And of course, the predators multiply, and the herbivores become fewer and fewer to feed all that population. What you have is essentially there's a 10-to-1 ratio between primary production and herbivores, and 10-to-1 ratio between herbivores and predators. That's what is known as a normal or healthy ecological pyramid. When it overturns, we have an unhealthy one, and that leads to extinction. That's the process that I'm proposing. Okay? Now, these are the theories today that these people are proposing for the extinction of man. If you want to get to the second stage after you finished Extinction 101, then you can move into Extinction 102. And here we have all these irrational theories. Okay, this is what people believe in today, 99% of humanity. Nuclear or biological warfare. These are the possible extinction theories for man, right? And nuclear or biological warfare, absolutely not. We can very clearly say, well, we don't throw the nukes. We're done. it's avoidable. See, what I need is a foolproof mechanism. That's not a foolproof mechanism. That can be avoided by simply not throwing the bombs. And biological warfare, same thing. You know, war, if we do not throw the biological weapons at each other, then we don't die. So it's very simple. That's not what's going to kill us. We need a guaranteed mechanism, one we can't avoid no matter what. That's what we're looking for here. We're looking for the cookie cutter that killed all the other animals. We want to apply it to man. And the cookie cutter, I'm saying, is food. Food we can deal with for the animals. And the question is whether humans have any way of avoiding food, okay, the starvation. And I'm saying we can't. There's no way, absolutely no way. That is a guaranteed mechanism. But I'll get to that in a minute. Well, probably next time. Pandemic, viruses, bacteria, all that stuff, absolutely not. We can look at any bug under the microscope and kill it before it kills us. No bug will kill all of humanity. It never has. No disease has ever killed a species. Okay? And all I can tell you is after doing lots of research, it never happened. Any more than egg predation ever killed a species. Another ridiculous theory people come up with just to put their names in the books, like saying, oh, I'm the first one who came up with it. Okay? That's the only reason for those idiotic theories. Climate change never killed a species in the history of life on Earth. That's why for me it's ridiculous, all this hullabaloo about climate change. Whether it's happening or not is irrelevant. In fact, I think we probably are contributing to climate change. It's very likely we're 8 billion people throwing all kinds of gases in the air. That might have some effect. I don't know. I would think it does. Okay? I'm saying it's irrelevant. Never in the history of life on Earth has climate change killed a single species. So all those people who talk about climate change, big problems, should see a psychiatrist. Okay? Population decline through a preference for fewer children. Yes, but that's for background extinction, for extinction of a single species. Okay? Geological disaster, never happened, never will. Volcanoes, asteroids, never happened, never will. Cosmological disaster, same thing. Habitat threats, overpopulation, never happened, never will. No species can overpopulate. No species can overpopulate. Neither humans cannot overpopulate. In fact, right now we're on the decline. Since 1963, that's what, 56 years? Did I got the numbers right? Our population has, our birth rate has been declining steadily. Not like in the 14th century Black Plague, for example, from, 1348 to 1352, about 4 years. Europe was ravaged by the Black Plague, the bubonic plague. And it killed, they say, anywhere between a third and a half of the population of Europe. And so people say, oh, you know, a disease can kill us. And you know, you have this worry that unless something like that happens again, we're going to overpopulate the planet and just overflow, just fall into space, I guess. I don't know what these people have in their minds. No, overpopulation will never happen because women are not having babies. And they're not having babies because they can't have babies. People think for women to have babies is a free will issue. It's a deterministic issue. And again, people say, you're crazy, Bill. What do you mean? My girlfriend is pregnant, you know, it was free will, you know. No, you didn't listen correctly. I didn't say woman. I said women, plural. Women is a deterministic process. Women cannot have, on the average, babies anymore. And there's nothing we can do about it. That's the worst part. The reason we're not having babies has nothing to do, or very little to do really, with NGOs, you know, all these government organizations that go out there and tell especially the black poor women, don't have babies, you don't have money to support them, blah, blah, blah. And they say, oh, see, it's working. We're having fewer babies. And then the Chinese, they imposed, you know, 1 child per family and so on. It's got really nothing to do with it. The reason we're not having babies is we went from the country to the cities. You can't have babies in the cities. And it happens to all species. When the bacteria get on the bread and they start multiplying and they form their cities, at some point they stop reproducing. They can't continue expanding forever on the bread, okay? And that's what's happened. We went from the country to the cities. We have mega cities, and the country is in the hands of agricultural corporations which produce the food that feeds the cities. That's how we evolved, and it was predictable that we would have evolved in that direction. Now we are in these big cities. We have millions of people in there, half of them without jobs. And what happens? The food comes from the country. And when you're in the city and you don't have any money, and there's all this crowdedness, and you're in a little apartment, you can't have 10 children in an apartment for some reason. I don't know why. Can you imagine 10 children in your one-bedroom apartment? Never happened. Never will. So women will not have children from now on. It's impossible. There's nothing humans can do about it. No technology, no intelligence, no foresight can overturn that trend. So we're on a path to extinction. If it weren't for mass extinction, we would have a single species, a background extinction. Humans would die out all by themselves without the help of a mass extinction. Fortunately, the mass extinction happens earlier and spares us the agony of dying like the Neanderthals in a slow, progressive way. Okay. Anyways, habitat threats, overpopulation, never happened, never will. We'll never populate the entire earth. It'll never happen. We're going to die in the cities that exist today. We're not going to found any new cities. You know, people think that we're going to go out in the middle of the desert, Sahara Desert, and found some 10 million people city population. No way. Never going to happen. Whatever cities we have on the planet today, that's how we die. We're not going to invent new cities, okay? And, you know, the era of colonization is over. Sun engulfs the earth. Yeah, that'll happen in the future. Don't wait for it. Okay, super intelligent entity annihilates us. We create this robot, and he takes over because he's more intelligent than us, you know, and that causes our extinction because they don't need us now, okay? Uncontrolled nanotechnology destroys Earth ecosystem. Ecosystem's not going to change anything. Creation of a micro black hole. Total idiocy. Nonsense. Poppycock. Okay. Invasion by militarily superior ET. Look at the theories. They say, oh, I'm the first one to come up with it. You know, it's just to put their names in the books. It's idiocy. These are not extinction theories. This is just person who's trying to brainstorm some poppycock there and just throws it in there. And these are all in the Wikipedia. Of course, you won't find the food. My theory, you won't find it in there. Theories that have a chance to, especially that can threaten the existing theories, especially NASA's catastrophic theories, you'll never find them in any formal, medium. Those you will not see, but you'll see all this nonsense about mini black holes and the superior Klingons who come and kill us all. You know that stuff. You'll find a lot of that stuff. They don't care about that stuff because it doesn't threaten anything that they've got. Okay, and then the post-human. You know, we simply make so many changes in our bodies that we're no longer human. We're no longer, you know, what we used to be, just blood and skin and muscle. No, it's now you're metal and wires and who knows what else. Okay, and let's see, I've got one more. What was it? Where is it? Here it is. These are problems that humans cannot solve. So if you get a theory along these lines, you'll know where I'm going to come at you, what my counter argument is going to be on you, okay? These are things humans cannot do anything about with all their intelligence and foresight and technology. We cannot have babies anymore, okay? That's the first one. Babies are over. It's women are not going to have babies in the future, okay? We're already there. We're not having babies. The birth rate has been steadily declining. It was at 2.3 in 1963. That was the last high point. Since then, we've been dropping, and today we're closer to 1. And by the end of the century, by mid-century, by 2050, we're supposed to be reaching zero population growth. In other words, the birth rate will drop down to zero. Okay? Eliminating wealth pyramid, there's no way we can do that. We're always going to have this pyramid, no matter whether you introduce communism, anarchism, anarcho-capitalism, whatever system you got in your mind, that's never going to change. Okay, it's always going to be a pyramid. Okay, increasing genetic diversity, we have no way of increasing our genetic diversity. We can only lose it from now on, and we've been losing it. Today we have no genetic diversity, practically none in the human race. Okay, there's a couple of articles on that out there. We can't avoid growing old. We can't avoid individual death, your personal death. You know, sometimes I wonder, because see, I'm dressed for the occasion today. That's why I'm so dark. I was going to talk about extinction. How should I dress? I should dress dark. And I was wondering, you know, what the the Grim Reaper looks like. I mean, is he green? Is he black? And if he's black, I hope he's not racist. I mean, you know, I don't want to take the blame for all the Aryan problems in the past with blacks. Okay, please keep me out of that one, right? Okay. Overturning of the population pyramid, we have no way of avoiding that. Our population pyramid has begun to overturn in 1963. We cannot do anything about that. With all our intelligence, all our technology, all our foresight, we can't fix that problem. We can't travel to the future, to the past, like the relativists think. In fact, that's how I got into this, into extinction, because of general relativity. People say, the mathematicians, they all believe that we're going to go out into space and conquer first Mars, and then out into a solar, the nearest star system could be Alpha Centauri. Apparently, I think it's Beta Centauri has a similar build as our solar system. Only Beta, because you got Alpha, Beta, and what's the other one? And Proxima. And it's a 3-star system. One of those stars is more like our sun, and so there's this hope that maybe it's got planets rolling around it like here on our solar system, and we would be able to live down there if we ever make it down there. So they have all these ideas of how to get out there into space, and this is to the nearest star, which is 4.3 light years away. Traveling at the speed of light, it takes you 4.3 years to get there one way. Okay. And anyways, and that's traveling at the speed of light. That's the nearest star. And so we have no chance of getting out there, but, you know, I used to think that we could. In fact, I got a lot of this from Carl Sagan. You know, he hypnotized me. He was a pretty good teacher, right? But he taught nonsense. It just took me a while to figure it out. You know, all of what Carl Sagan said is just garbage. We're going to contact another civilization, that we're going to go out into space and conquer the nearest stars and then the galaxy. It's all wishful thinking. It's got nothing to do with reality. We're never going out there. We're never even going to colonize Mars. We're not going to terraform Mars. All that stuff he talked about. We're not even going to colonize the moon. We're all going to die here on Earth very soon, in fact. Okay, so all this stuff, absolute nonsense. And the extinction of the human race, we can't avoid that as well. Overturning of the ecological pyramid, which is what a mass extinction is about. The fact that we have food disappears. Food disappears because we produce it with money. And what I'm going to argue next time is money is going to be no more. That's the mechanism. The mechanism is money is no more. Our economy collapses, disintegrates completely. Not a depression, not a recession, total annihilation of money. Money, you will not accept money like you don't accept Vietnamese money today. And you know, if you live in the States or here in Europe, someone came into you and tried to pay you with Vietnamese money, you'd say, well, what can I do with that? I can't accept that. And that's more or less what money is going to become. You're not going to accept money, because money, first of all, is disappearing all by itself. It's becoming all this abstract money. It's all a number in a computer. It's not even, it used to be gold, then it's used to be these paper, you know, IOUs and so on. We turned that into paper money. Then money now is disappearing, and now we have all this electronic money. You know, we have all these bitcoins and so on. So it's already quite abstract, and it turns out that that abstraction keeps us alive. It's thanks to that abstraction. Think about that for a second. You know, before killing me and hanging me, you know, in the park, think about it for a second. This abstraction keeps us alive. Thanks to that abstraction we call money, which is faith, only faith. That's the reason we produce food for and distribute it to all of humanity. Think about that for a second. In fact, think about it until Wednesday when I will see you again, okay? And I'll look at the questions that, or the comments that were made, and if there's something interesting, I'll comment on it next time, okay? But next time, I'll talk about money and the human economy. And the only, once again, let's see if I can put that back up here, if I can find it. Got so many of these sometimes. What you have to do is, here, I think it's this one. Let's see. What you have to do is, this is your homework, okay? If you're going to put a comment, if you put a question, first, I want you to talk about extinction, not about human extinction. I don't want you to tell me, oh, how great you are in economics and how much you know about politics and so on. We don't care to listen about it. What you got to explain is how animals in the past died. Show that you're an expert in extinction, that you've taken Extinction 101. If you don't know about extinction, if you don't know the causes, the mechanisms of extinction of the dinosaurs, of the archosaurs, of the synapsids, of the amphibians, if you don't know anything about that, you know nothing about extinction. You are an ignoramus, so don't talk about human extinction. Don't put a comment, don't put a question, because you don't know anything about extinction. First learn extinction, then you can move to human extinction, okay? And then, then you can talk about human extinction if you passed if you passed the course of Extinction 101, then you can take Extinction 102. You can go into human extinction and show me, or show the audience, the crowd here, those three questions. Will humans ever die? If not, why are we going to continue living? If so, how will man become extinct? What will kill us? And I need a foolproof mechanism, a guaranteed mechanism, something that, I want you to win the race with your horse. I don't want you saying, well, maybe we can throw the bombs at each other, or maybe there's a disease that'll, no, none of that, okay? You got to have a foolproof, guaranteed mechanism. If you cannot come up with a foolproof, guaranteed mechanism, you know nothing about human extinction. We'll see you on Wednesday, and I hope I pissed off half the crowd out there. We'll see you on Wednesday. Bye-bye.